is being there. I think they've stood the grounds and proven how technology can actually be used and harnessed. We are having a hybrid mode. We are seeing a lot of friends in live after a long time. It's nice to see a lot of people again. We hope that we harness this technology further and further. Hats off to IPSOCON team. The disclaimer I would like to put across is all characters and examples I would be giving here across are all fictional names and characters. Any resemblance with people who are living or dead is purely coincidental. The product names, if I use anything, is not a recommendation from me. It is just a suggestion, or it is just an idea I think is useful. You can always try yourself and find out. Listener discretion is very much advised, and please think about it and do it. Now, when they asked me to talk about this, I wondered, why should I be talking about this? Because I know there are people who are excellent in this field. But possibly one of the reasons they might have thought about me talking about it is because there are three recent publications. One is the Dawn of Mental Health Professional, mental health professional in the IPS and the Telepsychiatry in Etiquettes, which talks about, again, mental health and telemedicine areas. And the whole book from IPS publication, which is the Cyber Psychiatry, came in as a seed thought, which I did share with Dr. Sudhir Bave, and we ultimately got the book released. Of course, they did the hard work. The idea was mine, that's all. Not just that, we had a lot of discussions. I was just seeing the number of discussions in the last 2-3 years I've had. In fact, the interesting topics go from digital infidelity to digital relationships to psychopathology in digital era to tools of digital age psychiatry. So what has happened is, I don't know whether I am good at this or because people have given me opportunity, I have become better at this, but something is happening. But not just that, we also have applied the learnings. We have, I'm part of the expert member committee of the Board of Studies in National NIMHANS Digital Academy at NIMHANS. Of course, I take care of the website of the IPS Karnataka Zone and South Zone, and I work with the IAPP as a convener of the web and social media. Tele-Arogya Helpy is one of the suicide prevention interventions which Dr. Mahesh and his team built in, and we helped consulting them and work on some of the technological aspects. Oglito is a voice recognition software, which we might not be able to do it here to show you, but because of the internet access issues, but otherwise we can actually have demonstrated some of those things. Now, simple thing, all of us know there's a craze for iPhone, and people stand up in queues whenever a new phone comes. And now sometimes we wonder why people are so crazy about this new technology. Nobody can answer the reason why people do such kind of things. But definitely we know any innovation for that matter will have some innovation cycle. There will be people who are innovators who jump first in the thing. There will be early adopters, the people, the moment some new technology and changes happen, people do take in. There are majority of them who are like, okay, everybody is doing it, let's also do it. And there will be laggards who, even after 15-20 years, still think mobiles will go off, Wi-Fi will go off, life will change, and those things. So each one has their own place. None of them are better than the other. Each one has their own place. I think if you have to realize who you are so that you can adapt appropriate technology based on that. Now, a cyberspace second is about huge numbers of emails. It's easily about 26 lakh emails, and WhatsApp messages are even more, 60,000 YouTube videos, Facebook is 16,000. If you see, Instagram is about 770 Instagrams in 1 second being put. This was 2019 data. I can tell you, if you see today, Instagram has taken over everything else. As the parents are getting into Facebook to see what the kids are doing, the kids are not on Facebook at all. They have gone onto Instagram. By the time the parents come into Instagram, kids will move on to something else. So that's how life changes. So a lot of these things change in technology a lot. Now we have two broad kind of citizens, right? In India, we always say Modi haters and Modi believers. There are like two kinds of sects now created. The same way, digital citizens also, if you look at, are two. One are the digital natives and another one are the digital immigrants. For example, we are all digital immigrants. We didn't have that much of technology. We have incorporated as day in and day out and those things. For example, our children, some of them were very young, less than about 10 and all. They started off seeing screens from day one of their birth. For them, they don't know what it means to say, hey, Otto, come here. For them, it's all app. If you like, I still remember in my house, if I whistle, they used to think you're a rowdy. They used to say, whistling is not your this thing. But my mother used to say, whistle and call the auto. Now, my kid doesn't see that experience at all because technology has sent, they will use an app to call the auto. That's how life changes a lot. So they are digital natives. So when we talk to those kind of people in a clinical practice, we need to be sensitive to understand some of the theories, what we put across to them, they will not even understand us. They think we are down and dusted. Now, why are so many things happening in technology and why are our conferences becoming technology driven? The reason is because accessibility is very high, affordability is pretty good, and anonymity. A lot of things anonymously can be done. I don't need to be Amitabh Bachchan, but I can create a Facebook profile and maintain as if I'm Amitabh Bachchan. I can do it like anybody else also. So the thing here you need to understand is a lot of fake profiles get created, a lot of anonymity can be done. People can maintain disguise. Now this sometimes helps, sometimes causes problem. Now safety is always a concern. It is always concern even without technology. We are always concerned about our own safety. So user safety, technology safety, and most importantly, today we know what is the intention of the person. Even today, Google gives you so many things free. We don't know what is their intention, right? We know they use our data, they actually market it, they get revenue from it. But the point here we need to understand is, if at all everything is given free, the person who is actually the product there is ourselves. So you need to understand there's nothing free. There's no free lunch. There is some trade which happens at every point of time. And you need to ask yourself, is the trade worth it or not? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. Now, this is very good for us to know as psychiatrists or mental health professionals, as well as people using technology. By definition, any technology is addictive in design. Means what? Anything is addictive. If you start using any app for that matter, you would have noticed you start spending a lot of time. I can say today, whenever we are free, the only thing we mostly do is do some doom scrolling, just keep seeing something or the other. And most of the times these videos don't make any sense, but we just keep watching. We know a lot of us carry mobile phones into the restrooms, and there is no need for mobile phone into a restroom, but we do it. These are the realities we need to agree. And the dangerous thing we also need to understand is today temptations are inside our pockets itself. We don't need to go anywhere very far. Temptations are here. If I'm addicted to something, for example, I'm addicted to gambling, my mobile phone can lead me to gambling. My mobile phone can lead to gaming. My mobile phone can lead to pornographic websites. My mobile phone can lead to very disturbing relationships. So the temptations, the evils are sitting in your pocket and waiting for you is what you need to understand. We don't need to worry about the next country neighbors. There are evils sitting in our pockets, and that is where we need to deal with, and we cannot run away from these things. Now introducing Dr. Google, we know we are all sometimes helped by Google. Sometimes as a doctor, sometimes we go through hell because of Dr. Google, and it changes the landscape, right? Of course, we're still going through the epidemic, and we know the fact that there's so much of misinformation and disinformation which is happening. So that's something we are dealing with, which we need to change. Is clinical practice changing with all the technology? Answer is absolutely yes. There are newer and more difficult illnesses which are coming in. The psychopathology is changing. The way we can incorporate technology has to change, and the impact of this technology, all these things are matter of concern we have. Now, one thing is very clear in all of us who are sitting here. No more, it is like doctor-patient relationship is, doctor, you are God for us. Nobody will ever tell us those kind of stuff. Today, I'm sure we all agree that there are things which are changing in a doctor-patient relationship. Now, patients more and more want to be informed. They want to know why, what, how, where, everything. They want to be collaborative. They want to come and say, doc, you can give me SSRIs. I've read about it. It is better. I don't want this. They come and say some things. And sometimes they tell us new molecules. They tell us many things which we don't know, right? That's the reality. So they want to be informed. They want to be collaborative, and they want to take shared decisions. No more we can take decisions for them. And the Mental Health Care Act 2017 also has said, boss, you are not the boss. Your patient is the boss. What he wants, you can help him, help him. If you can't help him, put it to mental health review board, we will take care. So we don't know whether we are evolving to the next level or going down. Time will answer. But the point is, this is the reality. Now, the most important reality, which is very difficult to digest for us, is personal choice matters. Today, if a patient says, yes, I know I'm depressed, I know I'm not working, but I don't want to take medicine, you cannot force beyond a point. You have to request, tell, you have to give time, you have to conversate, you have to get him somehow convinced. So these are things which matters, and personal choice today of each individual starts playing bigger role is what we need to understand. Why am I talking like this in a technology discussion? The reason is because there are thousands of apps. How will you know which app you want to try or recommend? When you think like them, then you can actually recommend. That is why I'm saying I'm not going to recommend this is the app, this is the website. How to think what is to be done is what we are looking at. We are dealing with Generation Z, nicely termed with, they are called as Zoomers. And today we know Zoom platform has become household name. 3-year-old children will know shortcuts of Zoom like this. If you don't know what to do in a Zoom meeting, you ask the smallest kid in the house, they will take care of your glitch. They will ensure that you will get back to the meeting. Don't ask anybody else. Ask the smallest kid in the house, who is about 3 to 5, they will take care of your Zoom meetings. So that's the reality. We are dealing with Generation Z and we need to change. We are in this hybrid world where things are a little different, catchy. Now, everybody used to say there are two kinds of world we need to deal with: the real world, virtual world. Virtual world is very different, real world is very different. Slowly we realize that things have changed. The boundaries between virtual world and real world has changed to such an extent. Today life is only one thing: real, virtual, everything is part of the whole story. Earlier, at least, people used to say, I'm not on Facebook, so it's okay. If you are not on Facebook, you need to realize somebody else would have made a fake profile of yours and asking money for you. That is the reality. I get sometimes requests of payment from some dead uncle of mine. That uncle is no more, but his Facebook is still asking me. Somebody has created Facebook profile. They are asking money. Send me 500 rupees, 200 rupees, and those things. I'm happy that they're asking money, which they have not given. So that's the point you need to realize is today's world, where life is one and real and virtual becomes part of it. Psychopathology is extremely changing, you need to realize, and the existing and new combinations are different. I'm not going to touch upon this because this is a different area. Again, there are a lot of internet related conditions which happen specifically, which are exclusive to internet, and some which are facilitated by internet. These are things which you should have an idea. So all of us agree one simple thing: things are changing. All of us are very clear with it. Even after having a nice heavy lunch, we have come sat here with half zombie sleepy mood, with this dim lit nice feeling. Even when we are sleepy, we agree with one thing: things have changed. But have you noticed one thing? We have reached a world where your Domino's pizza can reach within 30 minutes. They'll many times give you guarantee. Within 30 minutes, you order, you get it. But have you noticed one thing? You still are struggling to get some basic things in life. What are the things we are struggling? We still struggle to get ambulance at the right time. We still struggle to get drinking water in many places. Sanitation, forget about it. So I think these are all areas which we are still struggling. Whereas Domino's, can you imagine, sanitizers have reached villages, but water doesn't seem to reach villages. So what is happening? The thing here you need to realize is there is market forces for everything. Now, technology is a double-edged sword, we all understand. But what we also need to understand is it is our responsibility to sharpen the right side. And if you think it is the IT engineers who will change it, please understand, no. Health is all of our responsibilities. And we being health professionals, it is our responsibility to guide even IT people to do the right technology changes in healthcare. Every department should have at least one thesis happening, something related to technology. Otherwise, that department is not going in terms of time. At least one thesis of one MD student should be happening is what you need to look at. Why? Because if you don't sharpen the right side, the wrong side will get sharpened by itself and it will keep cutting us. So we have to look at it and deal with it. Now, when you're looking at digital health and those things and technology, very simple way to look at it is like this. There are three health we can understand. One is mobile health. Two is telehealth or telemedicine. Third is the wearable devices and other things. These are three simple broad ways to understand. Now, what is this digital health we are talking about? Very simple. Mobile health deals with all these apps and things, with questionnaires and those, which can help us to collect some data, understand the data, and those kind of stuff. Those are coming under mobile health. We all have become PhD holders now in telemedicine now, because last 1.5 to 2 years, people who never wanted to get online had to do online consultation, because otherwise no bread butter sandwich to eat. So COVID made us become technology friendly to some extent or other. So what we need to understand is, we still might be doing consultation like this. We might have camera like this and keep talking to them. We might have camera like this and keep talking to them. We all still do so many things, but we have become little better at it, as sure. So telemedicine, we have learned to some understand do's, don'ts, and to some extent. Wearable devices are things which have come up, and wearable devices will be there and will grow for a long time. Today, we have some things which can pick our steps, which can pick our sleep, which can pick our ECG. It can do a lot of things. So I will be talking to you how we can kind of bring in these things in our routine practices. So interestingly speaking, we obviously are going to deal with young people, right? Young people between 16 and 25 is going to be a significant population of the patients whom we see. The reason is because they are the people who are quite prone for mental illnesses. That is many a times the time when major mental illnesses start off. So they are the people. Next, these are the people who use technology the most, the newest apps, the newest things. They are the people who start off using most of the times. So they are more vulnerable. They're using it regularly. And again, they resist to take treatments many times, and most of the times we know it's very difficult to maintain them. We see many adolescents, we see many young people, they come, they take treatment, but very difficult to maintain them through the treatment process. Have you noticed that in your practice? That is where you need to understand. This is the population where you need to learn to deal with them, because a lot of studies say they will listen to you only when you talk their language. When you talk their language, they listen to you. They think, okay, you are one among them. Otherwise, they think they are outdated. In fact, many times I see some people coming and consulting me, ask, okay, you were meeting the psychiatrist. Why did you come to me? Many times, it's a very interesting question to ask always. They will see, when they give an idea, we should not judge the other psychiatrists, but it is good to get an idea of how the patients interpret. I've seen some of the patients coming and telling, okay, and that doctor is very old, so I didn't feel connected. Okay, I understand. There's one more patient who comes to me who says, oh, that psychiatrist was very young. I thought I needed a little more experienced people. So what happens is, if different patient has different perspectives, getting that preferred mode, especially in young people, is very useful, because technology, if you want to design anything, you should design it to the population what they are comfortable with. For example, I develop high-end apps which require so much bandwidth, and I want to go to some rural parts of Karnataka or Tamil Nadu and do work. It might not work, because the app is very good, but that much bandwidth might not be available, because there only 2G, 3G will work. We have got used to 5Gs and 6Gs and 10Gs, but they might not be used to it. So we need to ask ourselves, who are the target population? Can they do online, offline? These kind of questions will help us to design, think technologically, and deal with it. Now, I'll take you through two very important big examples. In fact, that will actually give you how I think many times on day-to-day things, and how I try to bring in small elements of technology and those things. Now, I'll give you a simple clinical setting. I'll go through a kind of a fictional scenario where different challenges came up at different times, and how I kind of tackled these challenges with a little bit of technology use I'm talking about. So in a clinical setting, let's talk about leveraging technology. Now, every mental health professional here sitting here has seen a case like this for sure. Somebody who's very depressed, very suicidal, and attempting to end their lives. And definitely what has happened is, in this young girl, what happened was she decided to end her life. She put up a Facebook post. She put up a Facebook post to mention that she said, attention, so and so, sister's name, and she said, I'm going to die. I've taken overdose of this XYZ medications. I'm going to die. Please take care of the parents. And she had overdosed herself. She had posted, and she had gone off to sleep. Now, the thing here is, fortunately, the sister was in US, different time zone. She saw the ping on the Facebook. Some notification came where she was tagged. When she looked at it, she realized something is serious. She tried to call up this girl's number. Obviously, the girl had switched off the phone by then. Then she reached out to the mother and father who were in the lower floor. They went up, broke the door. She was already frothing and all. They took her to the emergency. Somehow she survived. That's when psychiatric reference happened. We diagnosed her with maybe first episode depression, which is severe, and the psychotic symptoms were there. We treated, she got better. Now, as she got better, everything became fine. We realized that she had a lot of social anxiety and she became better mentally, but she would never go out of the house, do anything at all. She would be stuck at home, not doing much at all. That's when we realized maybe she has very prominent social anxiety. Since she has very, very prominent social anxiety, that is when we said, why don't you think of trying to use some technology, reach out to old friends, old colleagues. So we use technology to kind of make them communicate, because I can't wait for her anxiety to come down to connect. So she had to do it. So she used a lot of these technologies, and ultimately she started kind of developing some friends, reaching out to old friends and getting back. Now things started going fine. She responded well. We were continuing the medications and everything else was going fine. Now, couple of years later, she was on maintenance dose. We tapered and stopped everything. Once we tapered and stopped, about 2 months after stopping all the psychotropics, what happened is maybe she had relapse of symptoms. Slowly, the technology we introduced to her started actually becoming a problem to her. She started watching Korean series to the extent of 20-30 episodes, one straight shot. I know some of you who are smiling out here know that you are also somebody who would have seen it, or might know somebody whom you see it. Today Netflix is being bombarded by the Squid Game. Okay, I saw one episode. It was little nausea and vomiting for me. I thought, okay, maybe my brain is not evolved to that level. Let me leave it. But in fact, there are a lot of mental health professionals talking about it being a very triggering thing. They're saying that it should have a trigger warning and those things. So this is how this person started watching so many series. That's when we realized that we had to talk to her again. See, we introduced her with digital technology. Now we had to change it. We had to talk to her and say, yes, it's good that you're using technology. Yes, you're adapting with various things, but please understand, maybe there is a right way to do it, wrong way to do it. And we started tweaking how many hours, what hours, that, this and all. Interestingly speaking, she did listen. Initially, when you talk with people about mobile usage and all, the first thing is resistance. Nobody will ever accept, yes, I'm using too much technology or too much mobile. They will say, no, it's not too much and those things. So we had to convince and make her understand why it is. Now, this is where, interestingly, what we did was, instead of just arguing based on what their parents say, we did something very interesting. Is I asked, which phone do you use? She used an Android phone. In newer Android phones, if you go to the settings, there is something called as wellness settings. Digital well-being is a setting which comes in Android in newer phones. Now, it's good to recommend as a mental health professional saying, see, these are not extra money, by the way. They already have the good phone. We ask them, okay, have you gone to the digital well-being? Many of them have never gone. When they go to it, it will say, how many times have you picked up the phone? It will actually say how many times you have picked up. When you see your digital well-being, you will realize why you are so stressed. Actually, so more than the patient, sometimes it helps us, is what we need to understand. So digital well-being settings, we asked her to monitor it regularly. When we started getting her to monitor, automatically she realized she was spending 11 hours, 12 hours on mobile screen. Can you imagine 11, 12 hours on a small mobile screen? Obviously, it's going to be extremely taxing. So I think when we talk their language, things which they understand, they start opening up much better. So we made some progress with that. We reduced the person's addictive behaviors of technology. Again, one of the biggest challenge with all our mental health patients is they get better, but they become obese many times because of the psychotropics. Now, the problem with this patient was she also became extremely obese. She also, obviously, when she's watching so many series, she's even more sedentary. So we had a bigger problem with her. And now, obesity, physical inactivity, and those things. So we had serious conversations multiple times to make her understand. Interestingly, we developed an interesting strategy with the patient. We used simple technology of WhatsApp, which most of us use today, right? So we used WhatsApp. What we did, something called as a 30-day challenge. We developed a 30-day challenge with the patient. The challenge was very simple. I said, let's do one thing. Every single day for next 30 days, you will send a screenshot of the steps you have walked every day. I am not bothered whether it is 0 steps. I'm not bothered if it is 1 lakh steps. What I want you to tell me is how many steps you have walked every day. You can randomly send anytime. There is no rules for it, but you have to send every day correctly at least once. And you should do it every day 30, next 30 days. And I also said, one thing I can do from my side, since you're doing so much of hard work with all your depression and anxiety, I can do one thing. 10% reduction in your consultation charge next time. Immediately, patient had one blink, smile. The sister who was part of the consultation said, Doc, now that you told money is going to be reduced, I can 100% tell my sister will definitely crack this. That is when I realized this was spontaneously told to her, but I realized I'm talking to her what means to her. She finished 30 days, every single day, actually sending a screenshot of the steps. Now, we might wonder, will it make big changes? Answer is absolutely yes. If a patient does that much, you know the patient is on right track. Today or tomorrow, they will reach the right track. So what we are doing is, we are trying to make it easy for them to do. Second is, if you see, I'm removing all the barriers for them. I'm not telling you should do 10,000 steps only. We only don't do 10,000 steps. Why do you expect a patient who is depressed with so many medications, zombie, doing that? They might find it very difficult. So I said, I'm not bothered about 0 steps or 100 steps or 1,000. So we remove all the barriers for them. And I say, I will not comment. I also say them very clearly. Immediately, some of you will think, Doc, we don't have so much time to respond to them every time. So I tell my patients, I also burnt my fingers because one of my patients once said, sir, I send message every day, but you didn't respond to me. So I stopped doing. Then I realized patients expect us to respond. So what I tell my patients when I give some tasks like this is I say, see, I might respond here and there sometimes, but I will be having a watch on it. Don't worry. If there is anything important, I will respond also. So patients realize even if I'm not responding, this guy is watching. So every 3rd day or 5th day, suddenly I put a thumbs up or some good that this, they're very happy to listen to it and move on. So I think this is how we need to kind of adopt and do things which makes less barriers for them to take it. And we are dealing with people who find it very difficult to do tasks. So we need to ask ourselves and do things which is necessary. So this example is an example. I've very briefly told how small nuances of bringing in technology, bringing in addiction issues, bringing in proper hygiene practices, sleep hygiene, digital hygiene, all those things are important, is something which I thought I'll highlight with this clinical scenario. With this, I will move on to something which is even more important and something which is very close to our heart, which we work a lot. This is in suicide prevention. Now, when you're talking about suicide prevention, of course, we have Dr. Lakshmi Vijay Kumar, who was mother of suicide prevention, not just in India. Actually, we have learned a lot. Thank you, ma'am. And I'm sure there are a lot of things we can actually talk about here in suicide prevention. Now, when I say suicide prevention technology, immediately we'll think some big things. Now, I can tell you some ideas which we have developed. Most of it doesn't cost much of money, and it has costed us quite small amount of money. It is almost like to and fro air ticket to Madurai, come and go will be almost the same. That is the amount of money we might have spent. Time spent, you don't ask me. A lot of sleepless nights have gone behind doing these things, but we have realized that they can work a lot. And they work because people do tell us. Now, I'll give you some examples. I'll give you some ideas which you can think and adapt. I'm not saying our idea is the best idea. Ours might not be the best. We want you to develop the best and work on it. So some interesting ideas we'll say. Now, in suicide prevention strategies, some of the things we developed is something called as Healthy Suicide Gatekeeper Training. Now, gatekeeper training, a lot of people do. They do it traditionally in a classroom kind of a setting. But a lot of people don't want to come. In Bangalore, the biggest challenge is traffic jams and all those things. So for a 3-hour session, they have to travel 3 hours. So people don't get motivated to come. So these things made us to think of an online suicide gatekeeper training and work on it. Now, we also developed something called as Healthy Rings, which is the digital safety toolkit kind of a thing. Healthy Bricks is another thing which we developed. Conversation starters and Healthy Cat, which is crisis aid tips. I'll give you an idea why we developed it so that you can adapt it based on different communities you work for. Now, the thing here is very simple. We all in life see people who could be distressed, right? We all in life will meet someone who's distressed, a friend, relative. Of course, patients come to us because we are mental health professionals. Now, many times we know some simple help can be done to people. Now, where help me, see, it is people have a cry for help most of the times, right? They ask for, and sometimes they don't ask for, they just show it by actions. Now, helpy is something similar to help me. That's how we term the term helpy. Now, this is the gatekeeper training, a 1-minute video which introduces that to you. So the reason of showing this introductory video of the Helpy Suicide Gatekeeper training is basically to say, now when you look at this video, it looks like some professional video which needs some kind of a lakh and a half to talk to some technologists and do those things, which is absolutely not. It needs you to look at the right resources, work on it, build on it, spend a little bit of sleepless nights to kind of do things, to figure out what is available and connect those dots and do it. Now, why we want to show you is because we know we are not competing with each other. There is so much of challenges that all of us have to do something new to make the world much better. That is the sole reason we want to share these things, and we want to share how we can think differently to adapt these existing technologies. Because our IT people will make it very complicated because their benchmark is very different. Now, when we start thinking differently, we can bring down the barriers. That is when we can adopt the technology and adapt it and do it. Because if you buy a software which costs you a lot of money, where will you go? You obviously have to take the money from the patients. So that is exactly where we need to realize why we should think technologically and make the difference. Now, that is the Suicide Gatekeeper training program which happens, and you can have a look at online helpy.co.in. It's freely accessible. Anybody can register and access free of cost. Now, it's based on a simple principle of recognize, respect, and refer. So you recognize people in distress, you respect their emotions, you respect the person as an individual, and refer them to the right mental health professional who is accessible and those things. That's a simple thing we make every person who is a gatekeeper to become equipped with. Now, we also realized when we developed that initially, a lot of people had a lot of questions in their heads, and we realized we have not completed the problem. We need to bridge a lot of things. And that is when we realized we have to create a lot more things. Like we had to create a crisis responder. Now, this is where I did mention, right? The team at Telearogya developed a crisis responder. They have a crisis call center. Like Sneha runs one of the oldest and still functioning setup. Like that, they developed something. Now, what we did was we did little technological uplift for them and help them to develop some consulting. We developed some consulting model for them and developed some tools which can help. Now, these are tools which are also accessible for any one of you to go and have a look at it and freely access. Now we developed something called as a Helpy ring. We also developed something called as Helpy conversation starters, Helpy bricks, and Helpy crisis 8 tips. Now each one has different reason and different resources. Like for example, if you're talking about crisis 8 tips, crisis 8 tips have simple things. I mean, you will not be able to read much on that, but if you go to the link, you get it freely accessed. Now, crisis 8 tips are very simple. A lot of times we say people, don't worry, take care. Now, don't worry, take care will not help a lot of people. We have to give them some specific advices. Like as a friend, what to tell. Like for example, asking them to eat at the right times. Maybe if they're drinking too much, asking them not to drink too much. If they're smoking too much, not to smoke too much. If they're not sleeping at all, encouraging them to sleep. These are some crisis 8 tips we can give. And we know in major serious situations, other than the medical interventions we do, that other tips we give, anybody else can also give. So these are things we should actually translate to the ground level. This is where the crisis 8 tips work. Now, another biggest challenge we realized with conversation starters was this. A lot of people don't know how to start the conversation. We tell people, please talk to your family members. They could be distressed, but they don't know how to talk to them. See, it's easy for me to come and say, can we go to a movie? Can we go to a hotel? But I can't ask somebody, are you suicidal? And we know a lot of families are tuned not to talk about the S word. They will talk F word, but will not talk S word in their house. So what we need to understand is how to start conversations. So this whole series gives so many examples. Like one of the examples written here is, I've noticed you have been relatively silent lately, and that is not like you. Is everything okay? It's a simple question which is being asked. Like this, some specific questions, if the person knows what to ask the person in distress, they are more equipped. We realized this was very much needed because a lot of people say, sir, how to ask, how to ask, how to ask. This is how we developed this whole idea. And this is not something we indigenously came up. The demand was there, and then we tried to supply with the technology. We made it little interesting, look little different with the use of technology. And again, that's how we developed the whole conversation starters. Many conversation starters are put up on the website for any one of you to have a look at it. Then we've developed this bricks. Now, we all know bricks are the, foundation for any building, right? So the same way, Helpy brick is nothing but basic resources for individuals in crisis. Now, what we did here is we realized these are core emotions. We looked at a lot of people in crisis and suicide issues. If you read a lot of papers, these are the major issues which comes up in most of the crisis scenarios. Failure, anger, embarrassment, grief, guilt. These are common emotions. Now, how do you deal with it? What do you do in these kind of scenarios? What basic tips could you give specific to these scenarios are put up here? Like we basically work on a simple principle of, first of all, the person should be able to accept their emotions and feelings. They should be able to identify it and reach out to the appropriate resource. That's something we started working on. And we also work on something called SAFE, SAFE standing for, we need to make them surrounded by right resources and people. They need to avoid wrong things. They need to find the right comfort and zone. And they need to engage. Like that SAFE standing for in the bricks. Now, this is one simple example of a brick we have created. It is for managing anger. The first blue one will show you basically tips on how to accept. Next is to identify. Next is to reach out. Like this, we have developed these resources, all accessible for people and adapt and change and use it. We are very happy for people to use it and those things. At any point of time, any help, you can always reach out to us. We will see what best can be done. Now, one of the important things I would like to highlight here is coming to the Helpy ring. Now, Helpy ring is obviously because we all know initially we used to, in suicide prevention, we used to talk about no suicide contract, and we have to write, okay, I will not do this, that, and all. Then we realized no suicide contract doesn't work. It's all outdated. It's not right. In fact, sometimes it can worsen the suicidal things. Now, that's where everybody started talking about safety plan, and safety planning was the tool. Now, when technology is adapting, we still can't make people right? So that is where we developed something called as a Helpy ring. Now, Helpy ring is kind of a technology-driven, simple tool, free to access, where people can develop a safety tool around themselves. It goes around some specific areas. For example, it helps somebody to recognize their warning signs. What is the warning signs they have for a crisis? Next is remove unsafe items around them, which is very, very important, we know, because that's a very important area, right? Like, for example, one of the biggest areas where I think team of Dr. Lakshmi Vijay Kumar and Sneha have done very well is the farmers' suicide, where they have worked on the safety locker systems and those things, which has been so proven effective. Simple strategy, very effective. Removing unsafe things are extremely important. Reflecting and purpose of life and those things, remembering some coping strategies are very important, because a lot of people know coping strategies, but they forget it or they don't apply it at the right time. And making them reconnect with their trusted resources and people. That's something we work on in this Healthy Ring, and make them reach out to the right professionals and also report to the nearest emergency if need be. Now, these steps, recognizing early signs, removing hazardous items, reflecting the purpose, these are all various steps we do. Now, I would have demonstrated a live thing in this laptop, but because of security reasons, they don't give internet access, it seems. So I'm not able to do it. I'll just show you a brief video. I'll not go through the whole video. I'll just show you the beginning of it to say how a person can just start doing these things by themselves. So if a person is accessing on a mobile phone or a laptop, they just go accept the terms, conditions. As I connect myself back to my roots, my name. So they are putting up their own name because it's a personal thing for them. Copy of it to themselves. So they put their mail ID through which they will actually get back the same details. Decides when will they activate a safety plan for themselves. So they develop strategy. Okay, these are the situations where I will activate my safety plan. They work on these things through the technological system, because we might not do that. So like that, they do everything, and then they go to the next question. So remove hazardous items from my environment. What all things they should do for this is extremely important. Anybody who is very suicidal, so they actually say, okay, medicines, they can reason to implementation and dosage which suicide, all those things. I know it's a cost of those things, but at least we made them give it not have access to so many doses of insulin. So that is something we worked with, where we had to remove. Now, technology sometimes can be used to actually do these aspects also. Like that, we make them create their own purpose of life statement. After they create the purpose of life statement, we work on other aspects, like what are the things they will do to keep themselves busy and distracted, like the physical activity and those. Like that, things go by to help these individuals. In fact, you can all give a try to how to create this Healthy Ring and try it out and see next time whenever possible. It will give you an idea of how things go by. So with all these things, what we did is basically connect all the dots of suicide prevention, where we are sensitizing the community to kind of pick up these warning signs and do what is necessary. And most importantly, kind of adapt simple steps in technology and kind of help these processes. Now, we all are client-centered approach, patient-centric approach is something every beat of our art talks about it. We do look at it and we do see our patients very sincerely. There's no doubt about it. But can we do little technology empowered patient care is what we are looking at. Because today with so much of technology around, some of it being free, I think we need to really rethink on some of these aspects. And that makes a lot of difference is what you need to understand. And biggest barrier for all of us when we think of technology is, sir, there is so much of data. What do we do with it? So much collected, so many things happen. What do we do? So please understand, there is lots of data and there is a lot of live data also. Today with all the technology and trackers and everything else, you get a lot of live data. You know what is the heart rate of the person at this moment, everything. So with so much of lot data and live data, mental health is driven by data. So we need to understand, we can't lead, we cannot leave these areas and say, this is not our area. This is our area and we have to adapt these things. Now, to keep it very simple, I'll put it across in a very simple way, because I understood in simple things, I am also making it simple for us. Now, mobile and connected technologies, apps and wearables and everything else can be looked at one simple way. You can try to triangulate these three things. How do you try to triangulate all these things in technology-driven practice? Very simple. One is the self-report of the patient. Patients themselves will come and tell you history, their own details, everything, right? The other thing is behaviors. Now, behaviors, patients themselves will report, family members will report. You can also collect behaviors based on what to say, data today. See, if somebody is sending a WhatsApp message to you at night 1:30 saying, doc, I want your appointment, you need to understand he's not sleeping. So automatically tomorrow's conversation, when I'm having conversation, I ask him, okay, I saw your message at 1:30 in the night. So it looks like you're not sleeping. They understood that we think two steps ahead. So they also start talking, yeah, doc, this is happening, that's happening. So automatically you get behavioral data also collected. Now, physiological data is very important. That's where wearables are important, right? Wearables can give you how well they sleep, how many steps they walk, what is their heart rate, ECG. Today, good watches have ECG packed in it. Now, oxygen saturation has become the biggest fad, right? Everybody wants to know their oxygen saturation. So that's something which is picked up. All these things can be picked up and dealt with. Now, this is something which is there already in the publication, which I mentioned in the initial stages. You can have a look at that IPS South Zone's publication on etiquettes and those. I'm just putting it across here because it's important. All of us know today we are doing telemedicine consultations. It's good to look at all these aspects of etiquettes, each one standing for some important aspects of ensuring professionalism in the way we keep our cameras, the background we have, the kind of dress we wear, the kind of eye contact we maintain. All of those things will make the quality of our consultation better. We are good doctors, no doubt, but the patient online should feel the presence of a trusted, good, sensible doctor who actually, they need to feel the presence of us. That's when they actually do well for themselves. Now, we will be highlighting on, now we know digitally we can work on psychotechnologies, which is basically on assessing, testing and other aspects, history taking, collaborating and all other aspects. We can also work on prescription digital therapeutics and all. I'll try to highlight some things here. Now, I thought instead of going and telling this all we can do, I thought somebody has done hard work. We'll take it from that and learn from there. We all today in medicines talk about FDA approved, right? Like a lot of pharmaceutical stalls, if you see, they'll say, sir, this is FDA approved for this condition, that condition, and those things. But the moment they say FDA approved, okay, we think, okay, maybe it is really, we don't think too much about other aspects. So now, FDA is now also approving a lot of mental health apps also. It is approving a lot of apps in general, mental health apps in specific I'm talking about. What can we learn from these useful apps which have been approved by FDA? I don't think none of these apps are there in India as such, but the apps which are approved as of now are one for ADHD, one for insomnia, one for nightmares, and one for addiction. Now, before I go forward, let's imagine we are developing an app. Okay, we are all the engineers developing an app. When we are not psychiatrists, we are lay people developing an app. You tell me what app will help an ADHD person? Just shout out an answer for me. What do you think will help an ADHD person? A person who has ADHD has attention issues, hyperactivity. So what can help a person? What app might help, you think? Loudly? Timer kind of things, right? Timer, very good. Anything else? Games. Excellent, excellent. Now we know a lot of ADHD kids can sit for hours together and game, and we can't beat them in any game, by the way, many times. So timing, gaming. So these are things we think, right? Let's take insomnia. If somebody is not sleeping, if an app has to be developed, what will the app do? Play music, give some tips on how to sleep properly, when to sleep and those things. Nightmares. If let's imagine I'm having 30 minutes nightmare. And every day I'm having 30 minutes nightmare because of my PTSD, some sexual assault happened, physical assault happened, and I'm having a 30-minute nightmare, which is very disturbing for me. Now I am wanting to develop an app. So what app would you suggest me to develop? Soothing words or something. If it's, let's imagine a 30-minute, 1 hour nightmare, you want to reduce it, right? You want to reduce it, or you want to stop it. That's a simple thing we want to develop. In addiction, we have many medications. We are very good in prescribing medicines, but do patients take the medicines and follow it? They are taking something else what we don't want they take, but what we want they don't take. Have you noticed that? So the biggest problem is compliance. And have you noticed one thing? Anybody who's compliant with us will improve. The moment they become compliant and meet us, most of the times, even with the worst illness, they improve. So compliance becomes a biggest issue, especially in addiction. So these are very common sense, right? We don't need big brains for this. And this is what are FDA approved apps now. Like for example, EndeavorX is a game which is for ADHD kids. Now, how many of you have played this game called Temple Run? Or you would have seen, it's one of the earliest games which came, Temple Run. They'll be running. Now, various versions of it came. If you go to EndeavorX on YouTube and watch that video, Temple Run is similar to this thing. Only thing is, these people collected some data, went to FDA, got some license, and now they say we are approved, and they cost a lot of money, some $3,000 per month, something like for 3 months or something like that. If people have so much money in India, they would do different things. So what I'm trying to tell you here is how simple things are adopted in technology. Technology is not a bad word or a difficult word. The way we see has to change is what we need to understand. Nobody will teach us technology. By the way, no IT professional will share ideas to us. The reason, if they share, they cannot charge so much. So it is we who have to learn some things and go back to them and say, this is what we exactly want. We have to work at that level. So this Somnolist is an app which is specifically for insomnia. All of us do CBT principles for insomnia, right? Some sleep hygiene principles. That whole CBT sessions, 8-10 sessions are clubbed in that app. That is what is Somnolist, which is an app which has to be prescribed by the doctor. Then only they can download it. Otherwise, it is not available free of cost, or paid versions are not available. You should have a prescription. That's why these are called as prescription-driven therapeutics. Okay, so they need prescriptions by the doctor. Nightwear is a wearable Apple Watch where what happens is whenever you have a nightmare, it can sense that you have a nightmare and it will vibrate so much that you'll get up from sleep. So once you get up from sleep, the nightmare stops and you feel a little better. So that is what a nightwear does. Now, in addiction, they use something called as reset. Now, reset is something all our psychologists, social work people, psychiatrists do routinely. All relapse prevention strategy, craving management strategy, whatever we are talking, they put it into some modules, made it into some all videos, and created an app and selling the app. So what I'm trying to tell you here is you don't need to think very high to solve a lot of these issues. Day in and day out, simple resources. We need to spend some time to see whom are we dealing with, what do we want to do with these kind of people. So if you keep waiting for, like FT has approved, the Indian government has to approve some apps, then only I'll prescribe to my patients. That day we have to keep on waiting. So best is to sometimes understand small things count. So doing small, simple things can count a lot. Now, no textbooks will teach us how WhatsApp can be used for behavioral activation. No textbook will teach us how WhatsApp can be used to make people get out of their depression. But only when we are reading, learning, understanding, and see the language of today's world, we can actually adapt these things and do it. That is how we have to work towards. Now, with so many apps happening, immediately you might say, okay, can you suggest some 3 apps which I can say for my patient with sleep problems and those? See, unfortunately, I am not going to suggest anything like that, but I will tell you ideas how to look for. With so many apps, which app should you look for, or which app do you choose for? Very simple. You have to ask yourself, why do you want to suggest something? Or if it's always good to tell patients what they should look for when they're searching in the store. Like, for example, are they trying to treat their symptoms? Are they trying to change their lifestyle? What is the need of the patient is what you need to look at. Finding what the patient wants is the core issue in any technology adaptation. What do the patients want? Do they want to sleep better? They want to be more relaxed? They want to have some peace of mind. They want to breathe comfortably. They want to be feeling relaxed. What is that the patients want is what you have to ask yourself. They want to deal with distress much better. They want to be more physically active. These are things you have to ask yourself. And then best thing is to do is to ask patients to experiment. I say, okay, see, go to the internet, go to the app store. I think you should do some tasks every day. Like a lot of my patients are elderly, right? Who we think might be getting into dementia or possibly already developing early signs of dementia. What we would suggest is we say, okay, try something like a brain gym on a app store. Go to app store, try brain gym, brain yoga and all. There are a lot of free apps which will come. You try a few apps, whichever you like, you do it for at least 20 minutes every day. Now, for an elderly person, technology is little new. Second is, gaming is even more new for them. Young people, you don't want to game. Elderly people, we want them to game because there it can rewire their brain systems. So we want them to try. So I say, you try it out, you try a few things. Even if you don't like some, don't dump. Because in mental illnesses, we know one common thing is they'll try little bit, not working. No, sir, it is not happening. So I always tell them, you have to try at least 10, 15, then only you might like one or two. So when you prime them with failures, then they actually deal with it, learn with it, and they say, after in the follow-ups, they teach you which app is working fine and which app is not good. And again, since I don't recommend this app, I don't need to worry about privacy. I tell them, you take care. If you're comfortable, you use it. So what happens is people who are very, very finicky about privacy, they will figure out their own ways. You don't need to worry. But these are ways to do, because if you are waiting for government to come and say these are health department approved apps, that day will never happen. So we can't keep waiting for it. So these are the ways to work out these things. Now, interestingly speaking, integrating all these things into treatment, recovery, and wellness is something which you should really, really seriously look for. Please understand, enough of psychological research has shown one thing. Anything which is tracked will change. Anything you track will change. There is power of tracking. You start tracking how much money you are spending every day, you will change. You will increase or decrease, but you will change. If you track your weight every day, it will change. Whether it will increase or decrease, I don't know, but it will change. So tracking always helps. You ask a smoker, you smoke how much ever you want, but every time you smoke, write it down in one piece of paper every day correctly at that time. If he starts, mostly they will not do it. Anybody who does it will reduce their smoking. If you see, when tracking is done, things start changing significantly. And it also gives room for tweaking and adaptation further and further. So these are three powers which you should harness whenever you are using any kind of technology. This was given by Torres and et al., which is aspects, ASPECTS. Aspects standing for action. Every technology, mental health technology, or every app should be something which has actionable steps. It should be secure enough. It should be professional. It should be quite evidence-based. It should be customizable, and it should be transparent, right? It should say what data it collects and what it will do with the data. If it says, then it is up to us to decide what we really want to do. So it's very clear with all what I'm talking about is cyber acumen is something a must needed skill. Whether we like it or not, we have to be equipped with some of these resources and ideas and terms. Otherwise, it's a challenge. Now, the question is, can we innovate? And in India, the challenge is resources, right? Anything costly, people don't want to use. People don't want something which is tough. So we have to keep on innovating. And interestingly speaking, we need to innovate digital solutions for non-digital problems and non-digital solutions for digital problems. You have to ask yourself. So somebody who is actually always binge watching, the first thing we want them to do is to read physical books rather than watching. For somebody who is not going out of the house and doing things, at least we want them to sometimes start exploring something which is there on their mobile phones at least, because if they don't do that, we don't expect them to do bigger things. So we have to find digital solutions for non-digital problems. We have to sometimes find non-digital solutions for digital problems. Like that, you have to work towards it. very key thing which I would like to highlight is lived experience matters, because constantly, if you're working on evidence-based medicine and other things, if you want, I will do everything only which journals and textbooks say, that day is way long ahead. A lot of things cannot be researched is what we need to understand. So what happens is lived experiences matter a lot. So sometimes when we spend time with our patients, especially patients who come and say, sir, this helped me, that helped me, asking them why it helped, how it helped, gives us a lot of insights on what is working really. And these lived experiences, I can tell you, is actually going to make a difference in the quality of practice you want to do. Today's session is supposed to be about empowering practice. And one key word you should remember is your patients will teach you. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to read at all. You sit and listen and be open to listen to patients' experience, what works and not. You'll get to know so many technological advances. The way I'm telling, it looks like, okay, technology will take care of everything. Once I adopt technology, everything will be okay. Answer is not necessarily true. What you need to realize is, everybody says, right, well begun is half done. Have you heard this quote? Well begun is half done. Now, the problem in technology is people have taken it very seriously. Well begun is half done only. What does it mean? Most of the technology and apps which are adopted by people will be not used 2 weeks after the installation. In fact, if you take out your own phone, there will be some apps, you'll see, who installed these apps into my phone? You only would have installed, but you would have forgotten about it also. So that is what we need to understand. So technology is so easy to start, but it is difficult to maintain. That is where one of the interesting things I do with all my patients is I ask them, especially when I know the patient will be using sometimes some wearables or something, I ask them, do you have something like a Fitbit or a digital wearable or something like that? Yes, sir, I have. Is it charged or not? I ask them. No, sir, I have to find where it is. Then I realize, what is the challenge? I'm not worried about 10,000 steps. I say, you do one thing, from tomorrow, start wearing it. Then we'll worry about it later. Because if I tell them 10,000 steps now, it looks too big step. So I have to tell them, start wearing it first. He has to charge. See, having a Fitbit charged every time itself is a big task for a person who's depressed. For us itself, it's difficult. For them, it is even more difficult. So when we talk their language, they understand, okay, this guy knows something what he's talking. So they start listening to us. So the need of the R is very simple. You have to create nuanced experiences. Nuanced expectations are there and nuanced challenges are there. You have to get out of the pack and do different things. We don't do it, we will not be able to help. Moderation is the key. I am not saying everybody should start getting gadgets now and roam around with technology driven. We should not, our psychiatry OPD should not be like ICU setup, twing, beeps coming in, but it should be adopted sensibly and worked through. Please understand, we are walking on a slippery source. We might fall down. We don't know how many of these technologies will remain 10 years from now. We never thought we all will wear masks. Earlier, a few years back, if somebody is wearing mask and walking on the road, we think chemotherapy patient, cancer patient. Today, unfortunately or fortunately, maybe all those patients curse. Today, we have all changed. All of us have become chemotherapy patients only. So that's the life changing into things which we don't expect. So please understand, to all the researchers out here, we are actually the biggest subjects of the biggest social experiment of this world. Technology, 50 years later, people will write history. At that time, they'll say there are a bunch of useless people or very good people. I don't know what they will write, who adapted technology or did not adapt technology. They helped healthcare or did not help healthcare. So we are the biggest specimens in this whole research process is what we need to understand. So let's not wait for somebody to do it. We need to come out of the pack and do it. The nugget of wisdom is very simple. Early bird gets the worm. Early bird gets the worm. They also say second mouse gets the cheese. By the way, what happened to the first mouse? Anybody? First mouse, tapak, trapped. Second mouse came, ate and went. Now, why is this important is because technology is like that. Parallelly, there is some session happening on moot court and those things and all. If we don't adapt technology correctly, we will need that session. if you adapt too much also, we need that session. We don't adapt also too much session. So actually it should happen next. If it had happened next, a lot of people would have attended that session. So you need to realize you can be an early bird, you can be a mouse, only you know who you are. You need to figure out the right combination and work towards it. With that, I think I have highlighted the most of the points which I would like to share, whatever I have learned and those things. Before I wind up, one interesting point I would like to mention is they always say, right, behind every successful man, there is a woman. Now, I need to tell you an interesting point. I'm just a simple clinician who practices psychiatry like any one of us. I was asked one question in 2013 or so by Sharmita. She said, Sunil, do you know who is a suicide gatekeeper? I said, who is it? I didn't know. That's when the first time definition of suicide gatekeeper was sent to me. And I read about it. And that's when we started the work on public health, public mental health, and those. There's no looking back. Today, I realize my clinical practice has changed significantly because of my public health approach. And behind this changes, whatever we are able to adapt and do it, I think a lot of credit goes to Sharmita, who's been actually actively working in public mental health areas, bringing a lot of these ideas. I only do a lot of clinical inputs of it and work on it. So thank you one and all for listening. Any questions I can take up? It is 3:25. I think we have enough time for Madam to wind up also.
Thank you very much for a fascinating presentation. You had the audience in your palm. And I think the most important point what he said was about the digital technology, which side to sharpen and which side to blunt. If we can take that message, I think we'll be able to do. Dr. Ganesh.
Probably we are learning the technology and we are asked to share the session. And in those days, we were using biofeedback for technology. We used to measure the heart rate, respiratory rate, and skin conduction to modify the psychological status of the person. And he has excellently presented the way to use the technology in our current psychiatric practice. And the floor, you can ask your questions.
Yes, and there is a gift for the best question. So please let the questions pour.
Ensure that the question is answerable. Otherwise, I will raise hand not to give it.
Any questions, please?
Online, offline, some questions are there?
Yes, please.
What is your opinion on using chatbots which can automatically guide, because the psychiatrist is not available 24/7, and when a person is having some suicidal thought or something like that, so basically he can adapt any improvised, very AI-based suicidal conversational thing, so that it talks in an emotional way how the doctor speaks. At the same time, finally, it also intimates the nearby hospital or something like that, and the right support can be given.
Yes.
What is your thought about this?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question. In fact, the Telearogya team, the project we consulted for them and did work was based on this whole principle that a lot of helplines function, but they don't function when crisis people are really requiring it. Midnights are difficult, language barriers, so many things are there. As you rightly said, with so much of evolution of technology of chatbot and those things, could we adapt it? So we developed a lot of questions, assessment strategies, and gave it to them, and they did it. So that particular platform has more now adapted into telephonic counseling only because they were able to adapt and do it. But you're absolutely right. That's something which definitely a lot of helplines who are working and suicide prevention people who are working should work at, is to develop sensible chatbots which can help crisis intervention for sure. It needs the right questions to be asked. We need to understand the limitations of it also. It's not going to solve every single problem, but they are definitely going to solve some issues for sure. Not just in crisis intervention, your history taking, your day-to-day conversations can become quality See, for example, to sell you the idea on chatbot, right? Like, for example, let's take an example of a Sneha caller who takes a call, right? That guy who takes the call is very passionately working and volunteering there. Now, the other person who calls up, it's completely new. I don't know any idea about it. Just imagine he has shared some details. This is why I'm calling up. This is what is happening to me. If a caller who's going to pick the phone knows at least 5 data points, I am little more prepared in answering the call. Now, people are doing great job already. Now, any more data can make our life much better. So smart bot need not always solve the issue. Even a simple thing to collect data, even a simple thing to even get some more information can help. Will all of them use smart bot? No, but we know young people who are quite technology, and we are talking about the future, right? In future, lot more people will be using technology because they are grown only with that. They're very quick. Have you seen a lot of young people, the speed at which they respond to your SMS and WhatsApp chats? We will not talk so fast, but they'll respond to you so fast. So if you're talking about those generations and if you want to make a difference in them, we have to adapt, sir. We have to do those.
Can I add to that? In fact, we tried using the chatbot because again, the COVID, a lot of our volunteers, even though we are 24 hours, were not able to come. So we thought of doing it. And we, along with a group of young entrepreneurs who are graduates of IIT Kanpur, they got together and we prepared a chatbot. But the problem was there were a lot of issues with that because ours, Sneha, was a suicide prevention center. So the chatbots were good, but ethically, we were not sure whether we are doing justice to the person at that time who is in the crisis who calls. So now we have changed from the chat, we are actually training and we are selecting volunteers to do chats, live chats, because the younger generation don't even want to pick up the phone and call. They want to chat. So we are now getting volunteers. We have got the software ready and we are hoping, and we thought this is younger generation, so no daytime chats. We will keep it only in the night time. We'll start a chat service. Hopefully next year we'll be able to do that. But chatbot was a big failure, both from the ethical point of view and also from the helping point of view.
One of the biggest challenges, as Madam said, is the ethics and those things, because what happens is a typical, like one of the best, as of now, the best mental health chatbot which is available is something called as Visa. Hugely funded. Google is one of the funding system for Visa. Now it's the best available as of today. Now you can download Visa and try out in your own phone. You download Visa and type, I am feeling suicidal, and put a message. Tapak, one answer will come. These are the numbers you reach out. Now that I also know. But the point here is that is not what you're wanting, right? That information is, so these are some, so what people say in technology working is, can you just dump and say, see, go and reach these emergency services? Is it enough? What else can, so these are areas where a lot of hand holding. As Madam said, the best adaptation is a human and chatbot. In fact, if you interestingly read about the telemedicine guidelines, which India has come up when the COVID started, they are very clear in the technological interventions and everything and all can be done, but it has to be backed by human professionals who are in medical field and those things, which basically means if I say I will run only a chat bot and I will crisis manner, somebody can, it goes against the telemedicine rules. So I think these are nuances which we need to look at. We have to work, obviously, the experience centers like this, they will have to come up with some blueprints, and that's when I think we can, all people have to sit down and have the right composition working out.
Absolutely. Not only that, we also have that, Dr. Sunil said, we have to work with the software people also. For example, we have worked with the Google people. So if anybody types how to commit suicide, you'll have the helplines coming, drop down. Whether they actually use it or not, that is beside the point. But at least we were able to work with the Google team to see that. But unfortunately, the biggest problem, particularly in India, is what they advertise and what they offer are different. So many people get frustrated. So all those issues are there. But we can work with them to see that, now instead of asking just a question, now they are actually, Google is actually profiling. If you are continuously doing that, then you get helpful messages also now. You are not alone. go talk to your family. So like those kind of messages also the Google is doing. In fact, one of the biggest suicide prevention expert from NIMH has moved to Google to work with them to develop the algorithm. So let's hope. Any questions, please? Yes, Dr. Murugappan.
The other aspect of technology in psychiatric practice is using the equipments, RTMS, TDCS, and vagal stimulation, feedback, GSR, galvanic skin response, heart rate variability, and all those things. That is the other aspect of technology, what we are using it now.
Yes. Absolutely, but this is about digital technologies, which Dr. Sunil Kumar was.
Yes, sir. Now, interestingly speaking, those also have become more and more handheld and more, smaller and smaller pocket devices coming up. Yeah. So as you said, as sir mentioned, biofeedback system, today now for ADHD, they are developing headset bands where EEG monitoring can happen and the kids can do their work and understand whether they're able to concentrate. Only thing is penetration has to happen. It should become affordable, accessible. That's when things can make a lot of change. These are
digital for MCI to prevent Alzheimer's and to arrest the progress of MCI. We use HEG, hemoencephalography. That is again digital phenomenon.
Yes.
But use it in the system, not going to the internet or
IT. Yes.
Hemoencephalography. We are using it.
Sure. Thank you.
Any further questions? The prize is here. Yes, please. Can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Hari Prakash, ME Computer Science. I'm running a software company called Logic Research Labs. We are into software development for psychiatry, electronic medical records, and HMS. And very much interested in psychiatry because mind is the biggest thing in the world, and psychiatrists are the one leading. Thank you. My question is regarding the sir was mentioning about a lot of games, and I heard about other things. How games useful for even improving the mind thing. So why can't psychiatrists kind of come put a kind of in their office certain kind of monitors or play selected games like University or something like that, which is very attention grabbing, multitasking kind of games, and then basically connect the details like the mental state exam, can they connect these details and use to analyze how the responses of the patients happening in time or how much they are deviating from the normal people or something.
Sure. As psychiatrists, we're all waiting for people like you to develop those technologies and give it to us so that we can adapt and do it.
There is one thing which is available there. Nowadays, now we don't, for example, particularly in suicide, impulsivity is a very common phenomenon. And usually we have the Barrett's impulsivity scales, which is 20 thing. Now we have most of the psychologists in the US have a handheld design. And by that, they are able to judge the impulsivity, particularly because you want to, if you want them to change, you want to train them at the younger age group. So most of the scales are above 14. So this is geared for between 4 and 12, so that you can decide at between the ages that itself whether the child is going to be impulsive and then start retraining at an early stage. Only for that I know. The other conditions I don't know.
Yes. Giving the point on that, see, it's like this. Couple of points here. One is, as you mentioned, games are very useful, generally speaking, when it is used for short durations and you know the reason of using a game particularly. So the aim of using a game should be very clear with the person. Second, very important point, like also Madam mentioned, is in routine clinical practice, one of the interesting questions I always ask in people who watch this 10-15 hours of all series, right? I ask them, do you watch the whole series or do you keep skipping? You will notice all these people who are actually very impulsive and those, they cannot even watch that series. They'll be jumping. I understood. They'll go to the end of, so 30 minutes series, 30 minutes episode, they'll finish in 15 minutes, 18 minutes. So what is happening is they are first of all watching. Moreover, that also they cannot do it slowly. They want to keep jumping so that they want to know the conclusion. So this wiring over a period of time becomes quite challenging. So these nuances to pick up is where man and machine has to work hand in hand, and data has to be processed by the machine as well as the man has to think on these things. And I'm hoping more and more these kind of conversations we have, a lot of our psychiatrists think differently, act differently, and you people develop different strategies, and we should have a better world out there.
Thank you. Please.
Is there anything in rehabilitation for
Introduce yourself.
I'm Dr. Somshekar Vijay from Karnataka, sir. With respect to the chronic mental illnesses, we lack social skills and also we need to rehabilitate them many times because of their working memory. Many things have been lost. Or executive functions. So, is there how best technology we can use in such aspect as a rehabilitative measure?
I mean, it's an excellent question because these are populations we generally don't think when we are talking about technology, but it is important for us to understand, sir. The thing is, I'll give a simple example. If you reach out many places, especially after the COVID thing goes off, I mean, assuming it goes, a lot of people have useless laptops lying around and things they will not use. If you are able to get some of those things and put in, teaching simple things, maintaining a simple Excel sheet, Word document, simple skills, and maintaining the hospitals itself require a lot of document. We know some rehabilitation centers where the pamphlets are designed by the inmates. We know of rehabilitation centers where some of them maintain some basic accounting, everything. So they are trained and they are absorbed. A lot of technology people, I mean, companies also are willing to absorb these kind of people who are good at some skill sets which are learned, data entry and those things. But for us to do that requires a little bit of hand holding and getting the right agencies and tying up with them and working with it. Quite possible, quite accessible also. It can be done.
Actually, I was working in a central prison Bangalore where we used to work on this with the prisoners. Actually, those people didn't have any psychiatric issue. They are either the convicted prisoners or under 10 prisoners. Many people, IT people were used to be there. So we used to make them use by giving some gadgets and all to make preparation of all the data of the medical data, all those things. Even EHR, they developed the EHR, health record also, electronic health records also. So in such way, we can do it under this thing, but it takes more time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think Mr. All agreed that it has been a wonderful session. And I would suggest that Dr. Sunil decides who has asked the best question because he has answered it.
I have one question, madam.
Yes, can you be quick, sir? Because
I'm Dr. Vijay, madam, from Vijayawada. So, sir, one of my patients has told me one app, Drunk Clocker app. Drunk Clocker app.
Okay.
So he found that app because whenever he gets drunk, he just calls people and things that are not appropriate, he talks. So that app gives him some mathematical problems. When he starts drinking, he activates the app, it gives him mathematical problems. So if he is judgmental and able to answer that, it will open the phone. So such a scenario, can you throw some light where an app can be useful, where it switches off all the functions except incoming and outgoing to people who suffer from insomnia because they are excessively using the blue screen at the night time, because the basic function of the phone is to call. So are there any studies that from your side say that such type of app where you started at 9 o'clock, after that only incoming and outgoing are possible till the next day 6 o'clock? Will it be helpful? That's my
definitely. These are helpful. For them to follow these apps are very difficult. There are apps which are available to block everything based on timing. If you say next 2 hours and all, they work. There is a very simple app called Alarmy. Now, Alarmy, what it does is it doesn't, like for example, I want to get up at 5 o'clock. It will not play an alarm. It will keep on playing an alarm till I solve that mathematics problem. By the time I finish that mathematics problem, my sleep will go away. So that is how they've developed. Now, the point here, you are right. They have used neuroscience and those things and done it. But as I already mentioned to you, the application of it is the biggest challenge. How many people will follow it on the long run would be challenge. So you have to keep encouraging patients to try various things and do it. So if you can get people to do it, I think you would have achieved your results for sure, sir. So I think we have to constantly make them maintain those apps or continuously keep the settings on and work on it. So today, a lot of apps are available, like app called Focus and those, which if you put that app on and if you say so much time, it should nothing should work, it will block everything else. You cannot use phone for everything else. You have to reset it, then only it will work. Like that, there are. But people have to do it, and sometimes people find it very difficult to follow it on a regular basis.
Even that app, I am solving the problem. My daughter sleeps beside me.
Yeah.
So the alarm goes off. If I don't solve it, I will not get.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Dr. Sunil, what question would you
We'll give to the technology person. We are happy that somebody out of the field comes in, because that's a learning. Next time we need to attend some technology conference. We need to.
Yes. I'm sure you all agree it was a very fascinating and interesting and insightful and experiential talk. And thank you very much for this.
Thank you, sir.
Anything for the presenter?
Now I would like to welcome Dr. Murugappan to honor our chairpersons.
We were classmates.
ಸರಿ